to the Mi'kmaq people. We acknowledge that the land upon which we gather is the unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq, and we pay our respects to the indigenous Mi'kmaq people of this territory, past, present, and future. At this time, item number 2, I'd like to ask anyone who has a conflict of interest with any of the items that are before us today to declare same conflict of interest and recuse himself from any discussion on that. So are there any conflicts of interest on any items before us today by any councillor? If not, we'll move on to item number 3, approval of the agenda.
Your Worship, I'd like to make a suggestion that planning and development be moved up to the number 9 slot, and safety services moved down to their slot. Apparently there are quite a few people online tonight listening in for planning and development, and if we could speed it up, it'd be nice to do.
Any objections for anyone? Any? How do you okay with that?
Yep.
Everybody okay? Okay, then we'll. Otherwise, if everyone's okay with the agenda as presented, I'll ask for a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Thank you. Second?
I'll second it.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried. Okay, the minutes of last meeting are in your package. There was one small change that's been made. One of the businesses was Down East Docks, which has been corrected in the minutes. Excuse me. Any other changes that anybody sees that are required to the minutes? Additions, deletions, revisions?
I think I noticed a typo. We were talking about debrief. I think, was that in the, that might have been in the planning report, actually. Never mind. I think that was in the planning report.
Okay.
So, all good here.
Okay. Everything else okay with the minutes from our last meeting? If so, I'll ask for a motion for approval of those minutes.
So moved.
Thank you. Second? Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those against? Motion carried. Business arising from the minutes. Is there anything in the minutes which we will not be covering in today's agenda? Anything that anyone would like to follow up on from last month? Okay, if not, we'll go to presentations from the floor. Ask my CAO, are there any presentations from the floor? No. Okay, if not, we'll move to item number 7, which is my report, and that's in your package. Just a couple of highlights. I did participate in the Atlantic Mayors Congress in Summerside this past week, which was a very beneficial, and I provided the packages, the handouts, and the presentations to all councillors. And I think there are some good follow-up items there for us. Today we had a presentation by the Gray Group, and which presented a proposed urban core area plan, urban core plan for Stratford, as well as provincial government representatives who also attended. The only other thing I'd like to include in my report is I'd like to congratulate Shamara Bonso. I didn't pronounce that right, did I? Do you have it? Beta Bonzo, sorry. Congratulations to Shamara Beta Bonzo, who was recognized by Chatelaine magazine for her leadership as one of 33 black Canadians making change now. Shamara helped organize a petition to the provincial government to look at all the rules and regulations and laws, and with a view to eliminating any unintended or other racism or bias in the legislation or in the regulations. So, and I understand that was received by and is being considered by the provincial government. So, congratulations to Shamara. Okay, that's my report. Any questions on my report?
I just
Can you share anything from your meeting today with the Gray Group, or is there anything you can share there?
Yeah, I think they have a really ambitious vision for Stratford, between new housing units, and they own, I believe it's close to 100 acres in Stratford and in the core area, and they are looking at some development proposals to add new housing units, more commercial space, and some other, stormwater management functions and that sort of thing. So the plan is being worked on right now. This is a second consultation we've had with them, or third, I guess, and it's going really well. And provincial representatives were also there today to talk about the highways, and there may be a new roundabout required on the Trans-Canada, that sort of thing, which will be really improve our, the traffic, make it more like a main street and less like a runway, I guess. So
Yeah.
it'll be good to see the next version and to go forward with it. We plan to follow up. I'd like to meet with other provincial ministers, with provincial ministers, and with our federal representative to discuss it further and to seek their support as well, so that there'll be public consultations once the plan is rolled out. But right now, it's still in the formative stages.
Thank you.
I'd like to bring up a point. I want to personally thank you for sending the reports that you had on last weekend from the reports or the meetings you had in Summerside. I found the one on solar farm and the recruitment of people. Very interesting. And thank you for sending that out.
Just as a matter of note, I thank you for that, Councillor Smith. Just on that, there is an offer by both of the presenters in those cases to work with any municipality which is interested in proceeding with their own projects in those regards. So I think there are several follow-up items for us that present opportunities for us, so we will be looking at that. Thank you. Any other questions on my report? If not, I'll move on to item 8, the Chief Administrative Officer report. Robert Hughes.
Thank you, Your Worship. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I have to move this down. My report's in your package. I'll just highlight a few items. We do have an EAP provider, family and employee assistant provider, and we have a presentation scheduled for next week for the staff to present what they have to offer. And we're starting to work on the implementation of the records management bylaw, working with a local consultant there to help train the staff on what's required to implement that. Also updated the KPIs based on accountability engagement, so we'll be coming back to council with that once we figure out a little detail around each one. We had a meeting this morning with Upland, who's the consultant who we hired, engaged to do the waterfront core plan, so that's a very exciting project. There was also a resolution on this evening. We've been working on the community campus, which is a very exciting project. And of course, Your Worship, you mentioned the Gray Group. I sat in a few meetings. They have a very ambitious proposal for the downtown. So there's a lot of very exciting projects going on here in the town. It's quite an interesting time to be employed with the town. So that's my report. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for our Chief Administrative Officer? If not, thank you for your report, Robert. Okay, with the revised agenda, we will now move to item number 12, which is now becomes item number 9. Planning, Development, and Heritage. I'll ask the Chair of Planning, Development, and Heritage, Councillor Jill Burridge, to give her report, and I believe you have a couple of resolutions.
Yeah, we have a busy night here. As far as the report, it's just essentially the minutes from our last planning meeting. those minutes essentially center around the two developments that we're going to be speaking about tonight in resolutions, so I'll leave that discussion for then. And then the one other point was just the planning board just showing concern from our last town council meeting, noting that council essentially went against planning board recommendation on both developments. And so that was a cause for concern. I did tell them that we are going to do a bit of a debrief afterwards just to see if there is a misalignment somewhere there that we could remedy, but we certainly don't want that to continue on or be every resolution. The board does understand that they're making a recommendation. They're advising council. They're not steering the decision. But if there is a misalignment there, we should figure out what to do about it. So I think that's it, other than the two developments, like I said, we're going to speak to tonight. But that was essentially the report for planning.
Thank you. Okay, any questions on the planning report?
I'll move on to the permit summary. Nothing too surprising or anything in there, but I'll certainly take questions, or at least take questions and hand them off to Kevin. Year to date, we're at 22.7 million. Last year, we're at 38.6 million, 0.7 million. So we are behind, but that is expected. If there's any questions on that, we'll take them. Otherwise, I can move on. Moving on. We'll go to our first resolution. Number PH 017-2020, RZ 001-20, Greenway Realty Inc., R1 to PERD, Aintree Drive, second reading. Whereas an application has been received from Greenway Realty Inc. to rezone parcel numbers 399725, approximately 6.46 acres in total, from the low-density residential zone R1 to the planned unit residential development zone PERD. And whereas this rezoning request will require the following amendment to be considered: zoning and development bylaw, an amendment to the official zoning map to change parcel number 399725 from low-density residential zone R1 to the planned unit residential development zone PERD. Whereas 103 notification letters were sent out to property owners whose parcels were within 500 feet of the subject property to solicit input on the proposed official plan and zoning amendment, and notifying them of the public meeting to be held on July 15th, 2020, and 22 written responses and 2 petitions have been received. And whereas a public meeting was held on July 15th, 2020 at 7 p.m. at the Stratford Emergency Services Center, due to the current COVID-19 gathering restrictions, this public meeting was limited to 50 people, but was also live streamed for people to watch, and residents were given until July 22nd, 2020 to submit their comments. And there was much concern about the connection of Aintree Drive and Campbell Drive. And whereas the concept plan has been reviewed and concerns were raised about parkland, street connectivity, and uniformity of housing types. And whereas the concept plan was revised prior to the council meeting on August 12th, 2020, and sent back to Planning Board on August 31st, 2020. Be it resolved that bylaw number 45-E, a bylaw to amend the Town of Stratford zoning and development bylaw number 45, be hereby read and approved a second time. This resolution bears the recommendation of the Planning and Heritage Committee as discussed at a meeting held August 31st, 2020. So moved.
Do we have a seconder? Okay, thank you. Discussion. Okay, do you want to maybe ask Kevin to sort of lead us through any, what the latest status is?
Certainly. So on your screen, there's a map with a number of letters that are on it, and I'll just go through quickly what the changes are from the development scheme that was presented originally at the council meeting last month to the development scheme that is being presented this evening. So in the area that is labeled A, To reduce the impact on the neighboring property, a unit was removed. These are words from the developer, so just I'm reading it out of his report to ensure I'm giving it clear. A unit was removed and the private road was shortened, reducing this structure to a 4-unit building. Although not ideal for the developer, the project proceeds. They agreed to sell an additional 15 feet of green space that they felt it would make them more comfortable to own it themselves. So they're going to sell it to the neighboring property. That's right in the area of A there. They're going to sell 15 feet to the neighboring property. In the area of B, which is right here, the turn connecting Aintree and Campbell Drive was revised to meet appropriate site distance. A unit was removed to accommodate this, and a tree line was added to clearly delineate the community separation. So you can see the tree line here that is delineating the new development from this public street connection. Item labeled as C, which is up top. 4-unit closest to Aintree has been replaced with a single-family dwelling home and a 2-unit pulled away from the existing single-family homes and facing south. D, which is over on this side. In this area, a new structure comes close to existing single-family dwellings. The 2-unit has been replaced with a 1-unit single-family home. E, which is here, right in this location. To further reduce any perceived impact on the adjoining R1 parcel, an additional unit was removed to make this a 3-unit building. F is back in this center area again. Another unit was removed to allow a single-family dwelling or single-family home alongside a 2-unit structure. The net result is that a previous 5-unit has become a single-family home and a 2-unit building, so reduced from 5 units to 3 units. G, just right here. Another unit was removed to allow a single-family home alongside a 2-unit building. The end result is an overall reduction from 80 units to 73 units and a reduction of units exiting onto Aintree Drive from 22 units to 19 units. That's the summary of what has changed from the development scheme that was approved, or that was presented last month, to the development scheme that was revised, went back through planning board, and has received a recommendation of approval from planning board and is being presented tonight.
What is the part that's being, part of this is already rezoned, is already zone PERD, right?
That's correct. Hard to see on your screen, but the Hunter property with the horses and what not on it to the south is already existingly zoned as PERD.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Any discussion, any comments or questions?
I would like to make the point that I want to thank the planning department, the planning board, the developers, and the council to working together to find a solution to this problem. The expertise and patience is well thought of, and because of this reason, I'll be voting in favor of this tonight. But I do want to thank everybody for their dedication in this difficult file.
Thank you for that, Councillor Smith. I just had one other question about the parkland dedication. What's the total percentage that's allocated, excluding the wetland, for parkland?
The effective green space, as it's labeled on here, which would be excluding the wetland area, is 13.3%. Including the wetland area, it would be 21.1%.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
And can you say anything about the connections, the road connections on this? There's been some discussion, an email, et cetera, that some say they're required by TIE, some say they're not required. I know that our official plan calls for connectivity, and good planning practices is for connectivity between neighborhoods, but is there any definitive answer about whether TIE actually requires connectivity on this?
think to clarify this particular item, I'll just refer to the agreed statement of facts that's attached in your package. So this is agreed statement of facts between the town and the Department of Transportation, Infrastructure and Energy. So when and this gives a little bit of history on the connection as well. When the Aintree Drive subdivision was originally developed in the 1970s, it was designed with a future road connection to the vacant land to the west. When the Greensview, Liam Drive, Campbell Drive subdivision was developed in the late 90s, Campbell Drive was constructed with a dead-end street that was to connect to the next phase of Aintree Drive when that phase was developed. The connection of these two neighborhoods is not new. The previous developer, previous to this file, was required to make this connection as part of this preliminary approval that was received from the town. The town supports the connectivity between neighborhoods, which allows for walkers, bikers, and vehicles to easily travel between two existing neighborhoods without having to go onto collector roads. Dead ends that were left within these subdivisions with the intention of being extended in the future, not permitted to remain as is when the land adjacent is proposed for development. If the connection between these neighborhoods is not made, there's not enough room to add a turnaround to both Campbell Drive and Aintree Drive that will meet DOT standards. There is a private piece of land between Campbell Drive and the extension of Aintree Drive that has sewer and water laterals left for a future lot when the municipal sewer and water lines were extended through this area. So that, I hope that kind of clarifies what the facts are on this. I think the town has stated that we are not forcing the neighborhoods to connect, but we do not see an alternative that can be proposed that will remedy the dead ends that are left. I understand from the public's perspective, dead ends have been there for a number of years. They say they continue to function, but we are now proposing to develop a piece of land between these two dead-end streets. What we do in every other subdivision development is we connect them. There's been a lot of people that have raised concerns about the connectivity of them. I've had discussions with Department of Transportation on it. I think both the town and DOT would be willing to look at other alternatives, maintaining a minimum of an active transportation connection between the two neighborhoods. But there's also a private landowner that we have to deal with. I don't see an alternative. If there was an alternative, I think the town's open to discussing that, and I think the department would be open to discussing that. But we've had these discussions early on with the developer and transportation, and this was a design that met the requirements of the town and of DOT. So that's what we're supporting.
Thank you. Just had one other question, and that has to do with Aintree Drive and a previous development. How many, I understand there was a previous development that was given preliminary approval. How many lots were to use Aintree Drive as exit or entrance and egress?
22, wasn't it?
21.
21?
21?
And
this
there's now
current
19.
proposal is 19, eh?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's actually less than what was previously approved. Okay.
Yeah, and plus the fact that the contractor was going to build a private home also in that area. So there would have been 23.
Okay, any other comments or questions on this resolution?
I have, well, it doesn't matter, you go ahead.
No, you go.
This development scheme, so that we're talking about the PERD zoning first, and that's what we're voting on right now. So maybe I'll leave my comments for the development scheme for later. But the PERD development, much like I stated at the last council meeting, it does give an applicant flexibility for innovative housing options. And the official plan does ask us to look for opportunities to apply this, especially in infill development areas close to the core, right? That's where it makes the most sense. And being as it's on top of another PERD, already zoned PERD zone. It does seem to fit a few items there. I can see concerns of surrounding residents for sure, but the developer has put some buffering in there as well. But I'll leave my comments as particular to the development scheme for later.
Thank you. Councillor McDougall?
I was just a question for perhaps Kevin or anybody on the planning board, Councillor Glenn or Councillor Burridge. How did the vote on the planning board break down regarding the Greenway development? If somebody could speak to that.
It wasn't, as far as the planning board vote,
3-1, I
well,
believe. I'd have
it
to look.
was,
And one abstain.
well, it was 2-4, one against and one abstaining, which automatically is a 4 vote, apparently, which I learned. So it wasn't overwhelming. We had one board member who had a conflict of interest and couldn't vote, so we were down to 4.
Thanks.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Okay, if not, we'll proceed to the vote. So all those in favor of the resolution?
Aye.
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 Those against? Motion carried. Okay, you have another resolution, Councillor
Yeah.
Burridge?
So this would be adoption.
Which one?
Number PH018, 2020, RZ001-20, Greenway Realty Inc., R1 to PERD, Aintree Drive, adoption. Whereas bylaw number 45E, a bylaw to amend a Town of Stratford zoning and development bylaw number 45, was read and approved a first time on August 12, 2020. And whereas bylaw number 45E, a bylaw to amend the Town of Zoning and Development bylaw number 45, was read and approved a second time on September 9th, 2020. And be it resolved that bylaw number 45E, a bylaw to amend the Town of Stratford zoning and development bylaw number 45, be hereby adopted, and that the mayor and chief administrative officer be authorized to affix their signatures and the corporate seal of the town thereto to be formally declared the said bylaw passed. This resolution bears the recommendation of the Planning and Heritage Committee based on a meeting held on August 31st, 2020. So moved.
Seconder?
I'll second.
Thank you. Okay, discussion? Okay, we'll proceed to the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried.
All right, and now this is the development scheme, PH019, 2020, Greenway Realty, PERD Zone Development Scheme, Aintree Drive. Whereas an application has been received from Greenway Realty, Inc. to develop parcel numbers 399-725 and 329060, approximately 11.56 acres in total, in accordance with the submitted development scheme as permitted under Section 1155B of the Zoning and Development Bylaw. And whereas the development scheme was presented at a public meeting held on July 15th, 2020, and whereas the concept plan has been reviewed and concerns were raised about parkland, street connectivity, and uniformity of housing types, and whereas the concept plan was revised prior to the council meeting on August 12th, 2020, and was sent back to Planning Board on August 31st, 2020. Be it resolved that council grant approval to an application received from Greenway Realty to develop parcel numbers 399-725, 329060, approximately 11.56 acres in total, in accordance with the submitted development scheme as permitted under Section 1155B of the Zoning and Development Bylaw, subject to the following. All developments shall be developed only in accordance with the approved development scheme prepared by CBCL Limited dated August 18th, 2020, and the provisions of any subdivision agreements or development agreements. All subdivisions and/or developments shall be subject to a subdivision agreement and/or development agreement that may include, but not limited to, the following: subdivision requirements pursuant to Section 4, bylaw number 45, building types within the development, a schedule of styles and design with emphasis placed on the placement of buildings relative to surrounding uses and streets, and a schedule of subdivision and/or development phases. This resolution bears the recommendation of the Planning and Heritage Committee as discussed at a meeting held on August 31st, 2020. So moved.
Is there a seconder?
I'll,
Thank you. Okay, discussion.
It's my understanding that the developer in this case, there were some concerns about trees. Is he going to try to save as many trees as possible, or what's his plans on the clearing of land? Do we know that answer?
Well, he's got his buffer built in there along the east side. Outside of that, there has been concern about the trees throughout the development, and if there could be an effort to save those trees in between the buildings. So that would be something we'd have to put to the developer.
Okay.
And my understanding is that he's putting the trail around the trees. He's not going to remove the trees. He's going to try to work it so that he doesn't have to remove any trees if possible, but he's going to try to zigzag or whatever he has to do to make the trail along the buffer there.
That's in the buffer.
Yeah.
But I think what Derek's referring to is the more recent concern of the trees inside the development, right? Within the construction zone.
Okay.
But I don't think he's going to move a tree for the sake of moving it. If it has to be moved for construction, it probably will be, but no, I believe that's the intent.
Okay. The second point I want to bring up, there were some concerns from the subdivision, Camel and Liam, that area. They were concerned about these apartment buildings backing onto their properties, but that's not the case, is it? There's a piece of land between there?
There is a concern over on Greensview, on the southern leg of Greensview, that they wanted a buffer from the development. Now, it's felt, I think, at planning staff level and a planning board, I can't say it was discussed much because the property in between provides a bit of a natural buffer from the development because you have that R1 property just to the west that would provide a kind of a built-in R1 buffer to the development. Yeah.
Okay. So, okay.
But I guess to your point, Councillor Smith, if they could provide a tree buffer in that area, it would be beneficial.
Yeah,
If
and
the
the only
developer
reason I
could
brought
be
that
asked
up
to do
because I was a little concerned because it appears that they thought that that development was backing right up to their property line, when in fact there's quite a lot in between them, a private residence. So, I mean, that concern really should be looked at, not looked at, but stated that there is a piece of property in between them there.
All between, okay, I know what you're talking about, okay,
Yeah.
the other, okay,
Yeah.
an email it received, okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, any other comments or questions?
Like I have things I could say about this. The one thing that I find about this is, I have some notes down here, but I'll try not to, is I know this development has a market, and I think it creates a senior-friendly living development, and I think that's great within our town. Just because it's a good market at this point doesn't necessarily mean it's got best planning principles. The Greenway model is popular, and I absolutely understand it. But I've stated throughout this that the repetitive development of this nature, repeated on multiple parcels in our town nearby each other, it kind of, I think it doesn't become a problem, but I think it's just something to watch for. And I do feel that the design piece of this is lacking. I think it meets minimal requirements of our official plan, and so I'll support it because it does meet the minimum requirements, and it did pass planning board. But I don't necessarily consider it innovative. And I was asking just prior to the meeting in here, we talk about innovative housing, but we don't necessarily have a definition for what that is. So I think it's hard for a developer and planning board to try to figure out what that is, other than we're decreasing the lot standards for them to have a bit more flexibility in their design. But, you know, in this particular development, I don't feel the design is that great. But it does meet minimum requirements. So, you know, that's just my humble opinion. And, you know, the planning staff have given the recommendation. It does meet the minimum requirements, and the developer has committed to various things within here. And he has tried to back single on single. He has committed to work with Solweg closely, and I think that's important because we do have a wetland directly underneath it, and I want him to hold to that commitment to make sure there's no further damage to our ponds, because that is in the same watershed as our ponds, which have taken a hit through other developments nearby. So I do hope the developer is absolutely committed to that and will work with Solweg and environmental officials to make sure that the environmental impact is minimized, because we are tight to a wetland here and to the ponds.
Thank you for those comments. Any other comments, questions?
Yeah, just to echo Jill's thoughts, I do agree, Jill, and thanks to the many residents here who did offer their input. We did listen, and I thank them for taking the time to get engaged with regard to this development. The residents and developers, they deserve consistency from council. This particular plan did meet the approval of our planning committee. It also met the approval of our planning department, and it conforms with our official plan. So I'm not like Jill. I'm not as near as enthusiastic about this particular plan as I was, for example, with the Redden Heights plan. But to maintain consistency in decision making, you know, the criteria has been met, and for my approval. So, thank you.
Thank you for those comments. Any other comments? If not, we'll proceed to the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried. Okay, you have another resolution, Councillor Burridge?
I believe so. Yeah, this has to do with the zoning and development bylaw, the minor text amendments. We've seen this one before. We're going to do second reading and adoption on those. Number PH 020-2020, zoning and development bylaw, number 45C, minor text amendments, second reading. Whereas minor text amendments are required to the zoning and development bylaw number 45 to correct an error within section 1155B of the PURD zone, minor amendments to the R2 and C2 sections, an insertion of a new section on fence heights in section 8, and minor text amendments in the swimming pool section 814-1A. And whereas a public meeting was held on July 15th, 2020, and due to COVID-19 gathering restrictions for this public meeting, they were limited to 50 people, but it was also live streamed for people to watch, and residents were given until July 22nd, 2020 to submit their comments, and no comments were received on the proposed text amendments that were outlined by the town planner. Be it resolved that bylaw 45C, a bylaw to amend the town of Stratford zoning and development bylaw number 45, be hereby read and approved a second time. This resolution bears the recommendation of the Planning and Heritage Committee as discussed at a meeting held on August 3rd, 2020. So moved.
Okay, do I have a seconder?
I'll second.
Thank you. Okay, discussion. If no discussion, we'll proceed to the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Contrary minded? Motion carried.
We'll move on to adoption, number PH 021, 2020, zoning and development bylaw number 45C, minor text amendments, adoption. Whereas bylaw number 45C, a bylaw to amend the zoning and development bylaw number 45, was given first reading and approved by council on August 12, 2020. Whereas bylaw number 45C, a bylaw to amend the zoning and development bylaw number 45, was given second reading and approved by council on September 9, 2020. Be it resolved that bylaw number 45C, a bylaw to amend the Town of Stratford zoning and development bylaw, be hereby adopted, and that the mayor and chief administrative officer be authorized to affix their signatures in the corporate seal of the town thereto, and be formally declared said bylaw be passed. So moved.
Seconder?
I'll second.
Thank you. Okay, any discussion? Call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried. You have one more resolution, I understand.
Yes. Number PH 022, 2020, SD 018, 19, McDonald Quality Housing, Clearview Estates, revised preliminary plan phase 2. Whereas an application has been received from McDonald Quality Housing to revise the original preliminary subdivision plan for the phase 2 of Clearview Estates, parcel number 289637, approved on April 10th, 2013, by revising the remaining lots to the new lot standards within zoning and development bylaw number 45. And whereas the proposed redesign of the preliminary subdivision plan would see the number of lots increase from 79 to 90, an increase of 11 additional lots. And whereas planning staff have received comments from Department of Transportation, Infrastructure, and Energy on the additional 11 lots being added to the existing access on the TCH from the overall subdivision. And whereas 70 letters were sent to surrounding property owners on August 12, 2020, notifying them of the proposed changes and asking for comments, and 2 written responses were received not in support of the proposed changes. Be it resolved that approval be granted to an application from McDonald Quality Housing to revise the original preliminary subdivision plan for Phase 2 of Clearview Estates, parcel number 289637, approved on April 10th, 2013, by revising the remaining lots to the new lot standards within zoning and development bylaw number 45, increasing the original preliminary approval from 79 to 90 lots, subject to the following. A, that the 11 additional lots as outlined on the preliminary subdivision plan shall not receive final approval until a secondary access point is developed into Clearview Estates, meeting the requirements of Department of Transportation, Infrastructure, and Energy. This resolution does not bear the recommendation of the Planning and Heritage Committee based on a meeting held August 31st, 2020. So moved.
Okay, is there a seconder?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Okay, discussion.
My question is for the planning department. This development has already been approved for 79 lots. That's correct.
Correct.
Okay, and he's asking for an additional 11 lots, and this is because of the new planning act we put in place a couple of years ago?
The development bylaw number 45 allows for smaller lot sizes than was originally allowed in the original preliminary approval for the subdivision.
Okay. But if this is indeed rejected tonight, he still has those lots to develop. This is not stopping the development.
This does not affect the original 79-unit preliminary approval.
Okay, so that's good. Thank you.
Okay, any other comments, questions?
So I think as far as the planning board discussion went, planning board wasn't necessarily against reducing lot sizes. They're for that. It's just that in this case, because the intersection at the Trans-Canada Highway can't support those extra 11 lots right now, those lots would kind of sit dormant until we get that second access.
Right.
And if you look at where this particular development is in relation to where that second access would go, it would be quite, we're guessing, but it's quite a stretch from other developments where you would be able to tie in another exit point. We thought that it would take time to get that second access point because it's not close to anything, right, coming out that back end. So that was so in the meantime, those 11 lots would kind of sit dormant, right?
Yep.
I live in Clearview Estates, so I did go door to door, especially in the new area that's recently been developed. And their main concern was the traffic and the entrance. the density didn't seem to be a big concern for the people that I spoke to. And I know there is some people that are against that also, but you know, like even to come to this meeting today, it took me 7 minutes to get out of, to get onto the Trans-Canada Highway. It's a 90-kilometer zone there, and the only people driving below 90 are the ones turning into Clearview. So they're going 90 and above. So, you know, every time, if you don't wait until it's safe, you're taking your life in your hands. So even with 79 more homes going in there, is going to create a problem at that entrance. And I'm not sure, you know, how the math is or how the province give the okay for that, but there definitely should be a second entrance there. And like Councillor Bird said, it's down the road, and it probably would have to be an existing property developed to get something up, perhaps coming out at Reeves Estates or, you know, in that area. So, but it's a very, very dangerous. Right now, it's dangerous, even with more homes. But we're more than happy with McDonald's quality homes. Every home they put in there is top notch, and we're really happy with what they're doing. Yeah. And he will be going ahead with the next phase, I believe.
So they're asking for a second entrance. But what happens if they improve that, like put a roundabout or traffic lights at that one entrance? Would that be suffice? Or is the second entrance absolutely necessary?
Well, a roundabout might work. You know,
Okay.
certainly going to slow traffic down coming into that area, of course. It certainly would help, yeah.
I think like Kevin can refer to it, but the rating, what was the DOT, there's a rating on the Trans-Canada Highway, and there's a lot more traffic on the Trans-Canada Highway, right? So that was part of this, wasn't it, Kevin?
I think it's 100 lots. It's because it's,
No, but
No,
like
it's
the rating of the amount of traffic on the Trans-Canada Highway has
It's the level of service.
the level of service. That's what I'm
level
looking
of
for.
service analysis that was completed recently versus the level of service analysis that was completed back in 2013. With the increased number of vehicles on the Trans-Canada Highway, the level of service has dropped. So with that drop, that's why DOT are not prepared to allow any additional units above the original 79.
Okay.
They are okay with putting them in holding and just saying that, you know, the additional 11 lots cannot be developed out through this existing access point. They will have to be held until there's another access point. They're using it as an example as to connecting to the Georgetown Road, which would be to the west. You know, there is possibilities there could be other connections, but I mean, connections onto the Trans-Canada Highway are going to be very limited, and they're going to be very strategically located. But the discussion from the planning board perspective was the lands on each side of Clearview Estates are zoned agricultural. You know, with the growth rate that we have and the amount of land that we currently have in inventory for residentially designated land, it could be 15 to 20 years before the lands on either side of Clearview Estates would be required to come out of agricultural reserve and go into possibly residential. So I think they just felt that they didn't want to leave the decision in the hands of a future council or a future DOT representative where, you know, the likelihood of this happening before the entire build-out is done in the subdivision is very low. So for that reason, they felt they couldn't support the proposal.
any other comments or questions?
So when we're voting, if we vote yes, does that mean no? How's that going to go?
It's,
Well,
it's written in the positive, so you would, if you're not in favor, you would say nay. Right?
Correct. Yeah, the resolution's
Yeah.
written in the
So
positive.
if we are in
Yes.
favor of not letting this development go ahead, we vote yes?
No, we vote no.
No.
Nay. It's a nay then?
Nay.
Okay.
Nay.
Thank you.
Okay, is everybody clear on that, that this resolution is written in the positive, that we are being asked to consider an approval by McDonald Quality Housing to increase the size of their subdivision from 79 to 90 lots, and that currently isn't permitted by those 11 additional lots would not be able to be developed for, in all likelihood, 15 to 20 years. So if you are not in favor of this, then vote nay. If you're in favor of it, then vote positive. Okay, any other questions, comments? Call for the vote. All those in favor? All those against?
Nay.
Nay.
Motion failed. Okay, thank you very much for your report. We worked you hard tonight. Thanks. Thanks
thanks.
a lot. Okay, we now move to item number 10. And I guess I wouldn't want to hold our RCMP Corporal Dudley up any more than necessary. I wonder if anyone would mind if we jump to the Safety Services report rather than going to number 10. Is that okay? We make that change?
Okay.
Is that okay? Okay. So we'll now move to we'll change the order. Item number 10 is now Safety Services. Number 11 will be Recreation, Culture, and Events. So we'll now ask the Chair of Safety Services, Councillor Derek Smith, to give his report.
Okay, thank you. Safety Services. There was no meeting due to COVID. The first meeting was going to be by Zoom on the 21st of September, and that's going to take place. We're basically going to be discussing what has happened in the past couple of months and anything for the future. Streetlights. We have a request for streetlights on Balderston's Court, which is off of and behind the soccer fields. That court, there's a number of lots in there. They all sold out very quickly, and they're all being developed now. So we're going to put the lights in there because of the lots all being sold. I want to point out to council a new street light. Camp Genshoff requested a light into their entrance, and there was no power lines or power poles going into that area. So we're not quite sure, but I think maybe the provincial government installed a traffic light there with solar panels on it. It's quite nice. It works well. And it's just innovation that we now have in our hands, and we'll be looking at this at different locations throughout the town. Okay, that's it for street lights reports. All right, we'll move on to the RCMP report. First page. Of course, we always go down to our statistics. The statistics this month, 24 SOTs are being issued, 16 warnings issued, and 61 NSC checks done within the town. I do want to bring everybody's attention up to crimes against property, theft under 14. I'm jumping the gun here a little bit, but I have a prepared text in regards to theft under. As we all know, during the last election, many residents stated that they didn't see many RCMP vehicles patrolling their neighborhoods. I want to bring to council's attention the following incident. During the first part of this month, a patrol car noted a car parked in an area which seemed to be out of place. This vehicle was checked, and it wasn't clear as whether there was one or more occupants who were in this vehicle. The one in the vehicle was obviously in breach of the Liquor Control Act, and because of the possibility of more people involved, the police service dog, along with his handler, were called to the scene. As a result, a second person was found hiding in the neighborhood. This person is well known to the police, and when the vehicle was searched, it was found to have a large number of items that belonged to the residents of this area. The RCMP then obtained search warrants for both the vehicle and cell phones at the scene. There will be numerous charges laid. I report these facts just to let the people of Stratford know that the RCMP are indeed patrolling the residential areas of Stratford. I wanted to name the RCMP officers who were responsible for this investigation. However, these officers stated that the incident was a team effort and everyone should get the credit instead of a few. Therefore, I would like to state our appreciation for a job well done And the corporate Dudley, I certainly hope that it's noted on their service files of the outstanding work done here today. Okay.
Just before you proceed further, I also want to add my thanks to those members. Also, for people watching online, SOTs are summary offense tickets. So those are tickets that result in a fine and a conviction. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
And then we can move on to the RCMP additional information. In this, you'll notice for the tickets handed out, there was 7 speeding, 13 non-moving, 2 seat belts, 1 moving, 1 cell phone. So the overall enforcement just doesn't basically focus on one type of offense, but many types of offenses. Just wanted to point this out to council. 24 tickets issued, $3,655 received or will be received through the ticket system. Other than that, it's been a standard month for the RCMP. They do a great job. We'll open the floor to questions.
Thank you, Councilors, Constables, Smith. I just want to say that there is one member or 2 members I see every morning. I go in town early, and the Trans-Canada Highway, I'm not sure if they're giving tickets, but there are vehicles being stopped. The colors are there. I see this vehicle, RCMP vehicle, stopped along the Trans-Canada, bring there every other morning there, and it's a big prevention. I'll be following cars. You'll see the brake lights coming on, but kudos to him getting out there and you know, everybody sees them, you know.
Yeah.
The other thing is, this could be in September's report, but there was a rash of car thefts in our area in Clearview, and I believe they did apprehend someone for that. I'll let perhaps Corporal Dudley speak to it, but
Thank you, Councillor. Yeah, we believe that the individual that was arrested the other night he was found in possession of some property that was stolen from your area. Yeah. To say they did all those car breaks, I can't at this point, but the investigation is continuing, and we do anticipate quite a few more charges. So. Thank you. Thank you.
I do know that the residents in Clearview are very good to get out to the other residents through their Facebook page, and I wasn't aware of it, and that's where I first got wind of it, and believe it or not, there was people out walking around and just for a walk and checking things out, so yeah. It's very good, and it was a quick response from the RCMP when things were rolling there. So
I don't want to say it's organized crime, but it was organized. These systems that they use is somewhat organized. So it's targeted areas that they prey on.
Well planned.
Thank you. I just had a question for Corporal Dudley. Just wondering, we've had a number of complaints about crosswalks, drivers not respecting crosswalks, specifically one in the Marion Drive, Stratford Road area. Just wondering if there's any strategies. I know you can't be everywhere at once and this kind of thing. It's hard to watch a place with, you know, not much cover, not much visibility. Just wonder if there's any strategies that either things we can do as a town or things that the RCMP could do to make certain crosswalks safer for pedestrians, from drivers that don't respect those crosswalks.
Absolutely. That's not just isolated to Stratford. If you look across Prince Edward Island, you find a lot of motorists ignorant to the fact that the pedestrian has the right of way. It's really hit and miss. The amount of times that we have a pedestrian on Marion Drive while there's a PC there, I can count since I've been here is twice. One time the vehicle stopped, one time they didn't. We pulled them over. Education, a big part of that. The crosswalk flags that we had pre-COVID seem to be getting people's attention. Now, obviously, they've been removed for public health reasons. Flashing pedestrian lights, sometimes, I know there's a cost to that, but the amount of people that cross at that particular intersection, I don't know if that would be something you consider. But there is anyone that was out today, the children that were out walking to school, I mean, there's a large volume of people walking. We got a beautiful new road up. My focus today was that beautiful, smooth, long, straight stretch of road with nothing beside it. You can understand how fast vehicles were going in that 30 to 40 kilometer an hour zone. There's businesses there, so the Marion Drive crosswalk, although it's a concern to a particular individual, I understand it. As far as our enforcement, it's hit and miss, really. Education vehicles should stop to pedestrians. They should stop at stop signs. Everybody knows that, but it's whether they decide, if we're there and we see an infraction, we'll pull them over, educate them, or maybe ticket them.
What is your view on crossing guards? At what point do you think crossing guards would be required?
I was a safety patrolman at Prince Street Elementary School. I think they're great. That was for the school. Obviously, they're gone from that now to the school's hiring, but crossing guard is definitely a visibility. You see them throughout the province, and definitely something to consider.
Maybe we could ask Safety Services Committee to look at that, maybe, to see what can be done to, in that regard. Well, and not just, something off the top of my head, but there has been requests for crossing guards. So anyway, thank you very much for that. Appreciate it.
I have a question for Corporal Dudley.
Yeah, please go.
Thank you. I just want to let you know that that is my neighborhood there, Marion Drive, and I see hit and misses there every single day. So if you can pass it on to the officers, that is...
Okay.
It is one of the crosswalks that people definitely don't seem to stop at. And we also got another email this week from Mason Road, another problem area there. I'm not sure if you got a copy of that, but
Speeding
I-
or,
no crosswalks.
crosswalk?
Yeah.
What time would this be? Would it be in the morning, the evening, throughout the day? Like, is there one time in particular that they're having a hard time?
Pretty
with
well throughout the day. But I would assume that, when people are crossing to get to school, yeah, but I've seen it all throughout the day. Yeah. And I want to make a point as well, Corporal, that your report this month is correct now on the year-to-date. The month by month, though, is still missing, so perhaps I can give you a call this week or next and see if we can get that back on board.
Absolutely. If you want to
Thank
come by, and I mentioned that to
Yes.
to Janine, so if we could sit down, we'll lay it out.
Thank you.
How you
Yeah,
like
we used to have it. It just disappeared all of a sudden a few months ago.
I'll blame it on COVID.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I was just wondering, what's the fine inside a school zone, of speeding inside a school zone? And where does that school zone start on McKinnon Drive? That new, nice, straight stretch that might get a little fast.
So there's, that great question. Where does it start? Where does it end? It goes from a 40 to a 30. I was there today. The school zones are between Monday and Friday from June 1st or September 1st to June, end of June. The fines for speeding in a school zone are substantial. It's a lot more demerit points.
Yep.
For instance, 1 kilometer over in a school zone is equal to 20 kilometers over in a normal zone. So, and the points and the fine multiplies. The exact number, I have to go to my cheater in my book, but it's per kilometer over.
Okay. And then where is the limit? Where does that school zone, speed zone, how far from the school is that located?
So in any school zone, it'll be posted. There'll be a clear sign, and that's required under the Highway Traffic Act. So
you don't know that distance?
No, and then there's no particular distance. So
okay.
I was just in traffic court. I watched the officer testify. A school zone is determined by the Department of Highways, not by the school board. So their criteria, I don't know. I can find out, but I can say the speed limit decreases. I can't say that I seen that particular sign there today.
Okay.
But I'll find out.
Yeah, we should probably make sure that's, intact.
I just had one further question, if I may. Just with regard to the Rankin-Wren-Heron area. There's a daycare there, and we've had a number of reports of speeding and people not paying attention to people walking and that sort of thing through that area. It's a shortcut area from this area, from the town hall to town, rather than go out to the Trans-Canada. People will cut through there. And I know Safety Services, we've asked if there's things that could be done to discourage people from going through there. But from an enforcement perspective, is, I guess I would just request that that area be given some special consideration when you're on your patrols, because there are, as I said, there's a daycare there, but there's also a large number of pedestrians, and it's a very, very small shoulder. It's just basically, you know, there's not much room for people to walk, so people speeding, it presents a real danger.
I spent quite a bit of time there today. The speeds, we need sidewalks in that area. It's dense. There's a dozen apartment buildings there, hundreds of people. They walk. 42 kilometers an hour in that area is fast if you're standing on the road. So,
Thank you. Maybe Safety
Okay.
Services could look at.
Yep.
Thanks.
Well, that area was built in the 1970s, and the traffic signs haven't changed. There's still yield signs on a lot of those streets. There should be stop signs there now. But the Department of Transportation has been working very closely with the town lately, and well pleased. And maybe we should put that on the agenda. And the last thing, last month we had branches in front of stop signs, speed signs. I've asked citizens on patrol to keep a lookout for us, and they have taken on that task. So they're checking all the signs around the town, and if they see anything, they're going to let us know, and we'll pass it on to Jeremy Crosby, and we'll try to get things tightened up there.
Just one
Jeremy's
more
our
thing
Director
before
of
you go, Corporal.
Infrastructure. Yeah.
One more thing. Most towns and cities, and normally the fines are doubled in school zones. Is that something we could pursue or look at, or?
I would say, and without quoting the Highway Traffic Act, I would say it's almost more than double for school zones.
The way it is set up
The
now?
way it's set up now. I know it's significantly more,
Yeah, okay.
and just through the social media, one of the viewers commented that the school zone actually starts at the roundabout. So after the roundabout, but I'll confirm that for sure. Okay.
Thank you very much. Any questions for Corporal Dudley? If not, thank you again for your service and for keeping us safe. Appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Okay, I haven't reported from the RCMP. We'll move on to Humane Society. And it's just a typical month for Humane Society. They're doing their patrols. There's no outstanding cases, so there's not much to report there unless anybody has a question. I just wanted the council to know that I caught a raccoon the other night in my trap. Transported it to his summer home. Did not get rid of it. Move on to transit report. Numbers are a little down this month, but they're starting to steady up now. We expect now that September, October, school, universities back in and stuff like that. I would say it'll take a couple of years to get back to the numbers that we had seen in the last couple of years, but it's coming. The transit file is still being worked on, Jeremy, in regards to Ward 3 and different areas. Okay.
We are believing.
We're waiting.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. We'll move on to Crossroads Fire Department. The numbers are there. There's nothing outstanding again this month. I just want to bring to your attention that the board, Crossroads Fire Board, has approved the new fire hall lease. So that should be going ahead and in effect now from the 1st of January of this year onward. There have been a new truck has been ordered. It's going to be an international. It's going to be both a pumper and a tanker combined as one. This vehicle will be outfitted by a local company. It's going to come with a roof-mounted monitor. And I asked the question, what is that? And they said it's a water cannon on the roof. And something that I did not know is that each truck has a department for people to sit in with air tanks. And the members are locked into those air tanks. And they cannot get out of the truck until A, they manually release themselves with a button underneath the seat, or the truck is stopped and the brakes are applied. So that was kind of a thing. But that is where the cost comes in for outfitting a truck. It's the little things like that. In regards to fire reports, I think we only have one here that was reported from the month, and that was in regards to a grass fire Pondside Park. That's it. That's all I have.
Any questions for Councillor Smith on his report? If not, thank you very much for your report.
Thank you.
We'll now move on to item number 10. I guess this is number 11 now. Recreation, culture, and events.
Thank you, Your Worship. Dated September 9th, 2020, the Recreation and Cultural Events Department report here. We'll start with the capital project updates. The Waterfront Park and Waterfront Core Area RFP has been awarded to Upland Studio. The town of Stratford and Upland will begin working together as of September 9th today to chart a future development for the waterfront area. Community consultation will be one of the initial steps for consultants. Playground and swing set borders have been installed at Horton, T Hill, and Clearview Parks. T Hill Park has been seen repairs and painting and playground equipment, as well as updates to the beach volleyball court. So we put borders all around these parks, and they look terrific at Horton and T Hill and Clearview. New playground to replace the aging equipment at Spruce Grove Park should be installed in October. A new crosswalk on the Kinloch Road connecting Governor's Lane to Kinloch Crossing subdivision has been well received by residents. It provides a safe crossing to two large Stratford developments. Also, a big thank you to the province of PEI for sandblasting and painting of the Stratford underpass on the Trans-Canada Highway. The busy active transportation corridor shall see additional upgrades in the coming months. The Stratford Youth Center and the Council of the Stratford Youth Center is preparing for a September 8th opening, and having remained closed over the summer. There will be 20 registrations accepted in 3 different age groups, grades 5 to 6, 7 to 8, and 9 to 12. The Stratford programs down below here, summer programs such as minor soccer, baseball, and softball are winding down. What began as a summer of uncertainty transitioned into a summer of fun and sport. Children were able to resume near normal sporting activities. Stratford sports fields will continue to be utilized in the fall season. Stratford baseball will operate a fall season program with games being played on Saturday and Sundays in late October. The Stratford summer camp program ended August 28th. Thank you to camp staff, Brendan Yu, Sarah Power, Maria Mullally, and Zach Reynolds, and Lucas Proud for offering a great 9-week program at Stratford Town Centre. COVID-19 guidelines provided some logistical challenges for this program, but thoughtful planning by camp counselors made for a great summer for area kids. The town of Stratford is currently working on a fall and winter program. Most recreation and arts and culture programs shall return. However, some new programs formatting shall be required for this year. Arts and culture programs will be moved to an online medium, while programs offered in the Stratford Town Centre Gymnasium will see a new scheduling days. Unfortunately, program is not available in Stratford schools for the near future. Thus, the Recreation, Culture, and Events Department is adjusting the gymnasium's schedule to best accommodate affected users of Stratford schools. The arts and culture, the town of Stratford has released youth and adult artists in residence RFPs for online program. Deadline for submissions is September 23rd. The program will run from October to December. An additional underpass mural RFP has been issued to paint and recently upgrade Stratford underpass. This RFP closes September 23rd as well. Brush Stop Preschool Storytime Arts and Crafts program will start up again September 15th online, and watercoloring and painting classes will be offered again this fall from October 5th to December 5th. Events. After a very successful initial Fall Fest on October 9, 2019, the event will not be offered this year. The town of Stratford will look to host a second Fall Fest event in 2021. The town is exploring other opportunities to showcase Stratford trails during the fall season. Social media will be used to highlight Stratford's trail system and parks. The town is exploring various contingency methods of hosting Remembrance Day ceremony. Various options shall be explored over the coming months to provide a meaningful and memorial ceremony to honor our veterans. And that's the end of the report.
Thank you for your report. Any questions for Councillor Gallant?
I'd just like to make an observation. Over the past couple of weekends, 2 weekends ago, PEI Cricket held the provincial playoffs between Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, and PEI here at the T Hill Park. There was three teams, all-star teams from every province showed up, a lot of spectators, and good fun by all. They certainly had a good time from what I heard of it, and I could hear them. And the thing I want to point out is that we had a couple of incidents down at the cricket field where balls went among cars and or people walking to the beach. This group of individuals blocked off the road so that the cars wouldn't be in the what they call the hit area, but they also had people sitting there in chairs. So if anybody wanted to get to the beach, they would walk with that group past the cricket field, make sure no ball would come and hit them. So it was sort of a safety measure there for them, for themselves. And again, like I said, there was that 4+ different countries representative on these cricket teams. Sri Lanka, Pakistan, India, South Africa, so there's a lot of different countries. Anyway.
Thanks very much for that. I did ask Director of Recreation, Jeremy Pierce, before the meeting about the poles. There are supposed to be poles installed there and a net to protect people and cars from being hit by cricket balls. Apparently the poles can't be obtained. Maritime Electric's actually reusing poles and that sort of thing. They're in very short supply, so until we can get the actual poles, we're going to have to continue to sort of do what we can to, or ask organizations to, do what they can to protect park users from those sorts of dangers.
I find these people very nice to deal with, and the more important thing is that they ask, how can we help? And that's very nice to hear.
No, it's a great accomplishment.
I'd like to comment. I did get some complaints on the weekend on the cricket. I did go over and speak to them. I did reply to them by email, but I did go over. And the biggest complaint was the horn. I guess they were on a loud horn all weekend. I guess the noise was pretty bad. Also, the near misses with the ball, I guess, over there, whatever. Some of them did go over. And they do appreciate it. This one fellow I spoke with knows the game, appreciates the game, but he was wondering if we could put that horn away, because I guess you might have heard that where you live.
Oh, yes, I did.
But anyway, after this discussion with some of the residents up in T Hill area there, we are talking about community campus down the road, and wondering if that's something that we could look at, perhaps moving that field to the campus when you start doing the master plan for it and what you'd like to see in that. And their comment was get T Hill back again so they can go to the beach and whatever. But it was just a good discussion, nothing negative. Nothing negative about the cricket. It's just the noise, and I assured them that it's 2 or 3 weeks that their season's over. But one of the concerns was getting their beach back again. They feel they can't park now. They can't go down there and walk, and when cricket's going on. So it's something to consider down the road when things start moving with the community campus, and perhaps consider moving them to that area where we'll have our fields, our soccer fields and ball fields, or whatever we decide.
And just as a follow-up, Nova Scotia won the provincial championship.
Thank you for your comments. Okay, any other comments or questions on the recreation report?
Also, to note, Your Worship, the Canadian Premier Soccer League here used our soccer field in Fuller's Marsh there, and positive comments from the members, from the athletes themselves. And of course, they're at UPI now, but they shared our field. And going down to Fuller's Marsh and so on, and they thought it was a beautiful area, and used soccer and the referees and so on. So great comments from the Canadian. These guys are professional soccer players, so they're great comments. And they love the field.
Great,
Yep.
That's good to hear. Thank you. Okay, any other questions on the recreation report? No, thanks for your report, Councillor Glant. We'll now move on to Finance and Technology. Chair, Councillor Gail MacDonald.
Thank you, Your Worship. The finance report for September is in your package. Just highlight a few things here. We did not meet as a committee for the month of August due to COVID, but we will be meeting in September via Zoom. So what they've been working on, the online payment platform is set up, and customers will be able to pay their utility bill online. We now have 731 customers registered, up from 672 in August. The auditors will be in to do the on-site audit work starting on September 14th. We've had lots of phone calls regarding the bills and customers just trying to set up e-billing. We're collecting information now from the Infrastructure and Finance Committee to make a decision on when to start charging again for interest on overdue accounts. Staff is finalizing the MCEG grant information. As everyone here knows, we migrated to Office 365 on Labor Day weekend, so we'll now be proceeding to use more of the Office 365 features. We're working on interim reports on government funding programs. We're waiting to hear from the provincial infrastructure on the rollout of the next phase of the Investing in Canada program. Staff are currently working on this year's financials and reports. We're still waiting to hear from the province on the rollout of funding for municipalities to cover any losses due to COVID. The capital project spreadsheets have been updated this month, and staff will be working with Town Suite on the recreation and asset management module and developing an implementation plan. So that's my report, Your Worship. Also, the town income report for August and utility income statements are in the report as well. So basically, our revenue is down about 4%, but our expenses are down in the area of 10%. And as far as utility, we're down 2% overall in revenues, and we're down 7% in expenses for utility. So mainly due to COVID.
We're keeping it between the fence posts.
That's right.
Good. Okay.
That's my report, Your Worship. If you have any questions, myself or Director of Finance Kim can help out.
Okay. Any questions?
I just have a comment. I received this today at 11, I think, or late this morning, and it's really hard to get a chance to go through the financial report when you get it late morning, and we're here now discussing the financial report, so we didn't really get a chance to go through it and look at it in detail to see where we stand with the pandemic that's going on right now with our revenues and whatever. So I'm wondering if we can possibly get it at least 2, 3, or 4 days before our meeting so we could go through it and ask questions if we do have questions to ask. So.
Okay. I'll refer that request to our Chief Administrative Officer, if he could maybe ask that be looked at.
I expected it was vacation that caused
I beg your pardon?
I expect it was vacation that caused
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything
Thank you.
else?
No, that's it, Your Worship.
Any questions or comments on the report, on the finance report? If not, thank you very much for your report.
Sure.
We've already covered item number 12, so we will move to item number 13, infrastructure. Ask Deputy Mayor Clow, Chair of Infrastructure, to give his report.
Thank you, Your Worship. Lucky 13, eh? Wastewater treatment plant update. The system continues to function well. The wastewater collection system to Charlottetown, the project is progressing with both the pipe work and the pumping station nearing completion. Commissioning of the new system is expected to begin in October, with landscaping reinstatement to be completed thereafter, and a plan is being prepared by Stantec for the decommissioning process of the treatment plant, which can begin after the new system has been in operation for a few weeks. I was told that the pipe for under the bridge is going to be starting next week, and apparently it's going to take upwards of 6 weeks to complete that under the bridge, 5 to 6 weeks. The inflow infiltration reduction strategy, we're currently reviewing the quotes for additional work on the system, investing in Canada infrastructure programs. The sewer lift station upgrades, Coles has submitted a draft to sign, and the department is currently reviewing the report to determine the best option for proceeding with the work. Water station upgrade, CBCL is preparing a tender package which should be ready for September 18th. The work will include upgrades to the well pumps, controls, interior piping at pond side, lightning and surge protection added to Cable Heights, Fullerton's, and pond side. The Provincial Active Transportation Fund, the Georgetown Road Sidewalk and Bicycle Lane Extension Project is currently out for tender, which is closing September 17th, 2020. Construction is anticipated to begin before the end of September. The department is reviewing preliminary design drawings for the with Coles Associates for the Kepik Road multi-purpose trail project, and this will most likely be considered for construction in 2021. In addition to the above, the infrastructure staff is busy with grass cutting, landscaping, unsightly premises, pesticides, sewer and water inspections, speed hump installations, sports fields, trail grooming. Goes on and on. There's never-ending work for infrastructure. And the staff is starting to plan for the upcoming changes in the season as summer ends. So that's my report, Your Worship.
Thank you for your report. Any comments or questions?
Deputy Mayor Clow, the wastewater collection system, just curious, is that on budget? Do you know?
I'll have...
So far, things are on budget. There's a few things we have to check out with. We did run into some contaminated soils in some of the excavations along by the Water Street and Riverside Drive, but as far as I know, the province is going to help us out with some of that stuff too. So I think we're in good shape.
That's good. Good news. And Jeremy, what about time? Are we on time, or with a projected time to complete the project, or are we?
No, we're a little bit behind schedule. COVID-19 didn't help us out with some delays there with getting the men over from New Brunswick to do the work. But some of the delays were also with the materials that had to come on site. But we're gaining back some of that time. But I'd say we're about a month behind right now.
Thanks for that, Jeremy.
No problem.
Go ahead, Councillor Burge.
I have a question. Do we have final numbers of our costs associated with the Georgetown Road sidewalk and bicycle lane extension, as well as the Kepik Road multipurpose trail project? Like the two numbers, our costs?
We have estimated costs there. I can get those numbers that we've estimated for you for the next meeting, or I can email them out to you. We're not moving forward with the Kepik Road project this year, so we will be finalizing those costs a little bit more. Over the winter months, we're doing the engineering right now, but we're not moving forward with the construction till next year. But I can get back to you on the Georgetown Road for sure.
Ballpark?
Somewhere around 500,000, I believe, is our portion
To finish the sidewalk and do the bicycle lane extension?
on Georgetown. Yeah.
On Georgetown?
Yeah.
And that's for how many, how far of a stretch is that?
I don't have the exact meters right with me, but it'll bring us right down to where the Pownell Road intersection is.
So, okay, so, because for a while we were wondering about how we're going to come around that odd intersection. So how did that, I haven't seen the design.
The Department of Highways do have some plans for that intersection there, so we're working with them to coordinate the work right now, so I'll have some more information soon on that.
Okay, perfect.
Any other comments or questions?
Yeah, I have a couple. In regards to this Georgetown thing, it's not the length of the project, it's a hill. There's quite a hill that has to be done there, and I imagine going down that hill will probably be a little costlier.
It shouldn't increase the cost. We're not doing anything with the grade of the hill.
Okay.
But I mean, putting sidewalk in versus a multi-use path is quite a bit more expensive, but that's the style of active transportation we've had on that road, so we're finishing it off that area with that, with the bike lanes and the sidewalk, and then we'll convert over to the multi-use path on the Kepik Road.
Okay, and the second point I have, the pipe going underneath the bridge, And I think the bike lane is going to be worked on this year. What kind of delays are we going to be looking on at the bridge for traffic in the mornings and the afternoon?
That'd be more of a question for the Department of Highways. I can have some conversations with them. I'm sure there'll be similar delays to what we've experienced when we were doing the pipe work. But again, I do think they have that built into their plan for the construction.
Yeah, so the public will be well aware of when this is going to happen and prepared for it.
Absolutely, and we'll coordinate that message with them.
Okay, good.
My understanding is that there's not going to be a whole lot of delays with traffic with this one. They're able to get down the side roads. There might be some delays, but not major, I don't
Yeah,
think.
I'm more concerned about the bike lane going across the bridge.
Yeah, the pipe work under the bridge will not cause any delays.
No.
But
Okay, that's great.
the active transportation corridor, there definitely will be some delays associated with that, but I think, we're all going to be happy with the end result, so a little bit of delay, and then with the project finished and to have that completed, it's going to be impressive.
Thank you.
And I did see the tender in the paper this week for the bicycle lane coming across the bridge, so.
And Jeremy, the washroom facility and the playground, I guess starting October, the playground, the washroom facilities at Fuller's Marsh completed?
I believe it's almost complete.
Yes.
And I think they're getting along well with
Yeah.
the other project also, yes.
Yeah. Next year, I'm going to be on you for some pavement.
Sure.
Coming in Macintosh, a lot of residents complaining. It's going to be hopefully a highly activated area now because of the playground and so on. So,
Yeah, I've been reading those emails, so it's
Yep.
definitely going to be on our list for next year.
thank you.
I just had a question, Jeremy, about the wastewater project. When do you anticipate that we'll actually turn the switch over to the new system?
We're hopeful that late October we'll be able to start turning the pumps on and having the wastewater go to Charlottetown.
So that was pretty close to the original schedule, wasn't it?
No, we did expect to be done in September, but again, we're about a month behind.
Okay, thank you.
And I just have one more question too, because I know I've asked it and it might clarify things for other people, because it did come up tonight. So the whole policy with the town in the past has been to finish that on the provincial active transportation fund. So maybe Jeremy, walk us through, because sometimes people think, and RCMP was here earlier talking about sidewalks and denser populations of the town, and why are we spending money out on Georgetown Road to loop that around where the population isn't as dense, but there's a methodology there that I think you should probably walk through.
So originally we wanted to do the higher speed loops. If if someone does get into an accident or hit by a vehicle, it's usually it's a lot more dangerous on those higher speed roads. But now that we do have a plan and we're going to have that complete, we will concentrate on the higher density areas within the town, and we do have a list that we're developing now, and we'll come up with a new plan for the other areas, for sure.
You start to do the infill now that you
Exactly,
got
yeah.
the major roads covered. Okay.
Yep.
We also have a lot of sidewalks that need repairs, so this is what we have to do every year too. There's a section, I believe, along Pond side I got a complaint on.
Yeah,
that,
that's right.
We, so every year we have to, upgrade the sidewalks to where they were. So then that's the original sidewalks probably from 15, 20 years ago or whatever.
I think that's really good to hear that, I look forward to that plan for the denser areas, because that's been a long-standing issue of mine too, that local collectors really need sidewalks as well, and I'll be encouraging council to consider, increasing the budget in the sidewalk area in those areas where it is a safety concern, or other ways of making it safer, local traffic only, or choke points, or whatever we can do with the Provincial Department of Transportation, Infrastructure, and Energy to make the highways less attractive to cut-throughs and that sort of thing.
Yeah. Charlottetown's doing a pilot program with some traffic calming measures, and they sent me that report, and I'm going to be reviewing that here very shortly, and I'll bring it up at Safety Services. So some of that stuff is working. And as Corporal Dudley mentioned, some people perceive that everybody's speeding on a section of road, but it's if the sidewalks were there, I think that would eliminate some of those issues. And we do have some more traffic control devices we can look at purchasing in the future also. So we have lots to discuss at Safety Services.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions for Director of Infrastructure? No? Thank you very much, Jeremy.
Thank you.
Thank you for your report, Deputy Mayor Clow. Okay, we'll now move to Committee of the Whole. We have a resolution, and I know that you've had a lot of resolutions to read tonight, but as you've led this initiative from the beginning and done so in a great way, I'll ask you to read the resolution, Councillor Burridge.
Thanks, Mayor. I appreciate that. CW 007-2020 Community Campus Land Acquisition Supplementary Capital Budget. Whereas 4 sites were identified for a potential location for the Stratford Community Campus, and whereas the site located in Stratford between the Bunbury Road and the Stratford Business Park, owned by 2 property owners, namely 101523 PEI Inc. and Robert and Paul Farquharson, being approximately 170 acres in total. And whereas an agreement in principle was reached with each landowner to purchase the properties for the community campus in the total amount of $2,419,279, excluding HST. And whereas the total cost is expected to be in the order of $2.5 million, excluding HST, to allow for brokerage fees, survey costs on IRAC, and rezoning application costs. And whereas a portion of land will be sold to the province for the new high school, and a portion of the land will be sold to the Stratford Business Park for an extension of the park in the approximate amount of $844,000, will make the town's net cost for the land approximately $1,656,000. Be it resolved that the offers to purchase the 2 properties from 101523 PEI Inc. and Robert and Paul Farquharson in the amount of $2,419,279, excluding HST, and a supplementary capital budget of $2.5 million be hereby approved. This resolution bears the recommendation of a special Committee of the Whole council meeting held on September 8th, 2020. So moved.
Do you have a seconder?
As Chair Recreation, I'll be happy to second that, Your Worship.
Thank you. Okay, discussion.
Yeah, go ahead, Darren. No, you go ahead.
Well, I just want to tip my hat to you, Jill, and everybody else that was involved. A lot of time and effort went into this, and to our team here with the town, who were all involved, led by Robert and Jeremy. This is significant for the town of Stratford, and kudos to everybody involved here. And this is, again, this is very big for our town, and the foresight, the thought that went into it, the vision, Jill. A lot of that is attributed to you, and again, congrats, and we are all going to benefit from this.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions?
I'd like to read a statement. As we all know, Stratford has seen great growth in the past, and the future appears to be on the same path. Growth is a very positive thing for any community, but growth comes with increased cost. Tonight is an example of this. We are faced with a major purchase to fit the growing needs of the residents of Stratford. Therefore, before making the decisions, all the facts had to be gathered and analyzed to weigh the pros and cons of this resolution. For me, in the end, it came down to the question, will this be a success or a failure? The answer to this question will probably take 20 years to be answered. So the choice I make tonight is based on either concern or hope. And in this case, I choose the side of hope, and I'll be voting in favor of this resolution. In closing, I want to thank the landowners of these properties for the willingness to let us purchase this land for the citizens, both young and old, of Stratford and the surrounding communities. And I just want to give a shout out to everybody in the community who lobbied for the high school. The negotiations are ongoing, but it is being worked on. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Councillor Smith. Any other comments or questions?
I'd just like to thank the Community Campus Committee that came together and worked through this, the one that currently stands, and also there was in 2016, the mayor at that time, David Dunphy, put together a collection of people when they were going through the school review, and that's kind of where this all started. And I think we should also recognize, and maybe this isn't the time, maybe it's later when we're opening and cutting the ribbon, but Bill McKinnon, who passed, sat on that original committee, and he was so behind this, and he was so excited about it. So I just thought that, and we will recognize him on that day, no question, because he was 100% behind this cause, and it was nice to have him excited about it. So I thought we should recognize him and David Dunphy for taking that initiative at that time, way back.
Very well said and very appropriate. Thank you for those comments. I also want to thank everyone involved in this, in particular Councillor Burridge and Chief Administrative Officer Robert Hughes. He was in the eye of the hurricane for quite a period of time, but it's reached fruition. And my congratulations and thanks for all the work that you both did on this. And Robert, I know that this represents a lot of real hard work from you and also from you, Councillor Burridge. So thank you to both and to the council for the questions. It wasn't easy to reach this point, but council looked at this from every angle, and we looked at it in terms of our long-term financial forecast. It will not have an impact over and above what's already been determined for our taxes. Our long-term it's in our long-term forecast. So, and development costs for the property are also included in the long-term forecast. So it will not have any unforeseen impact on tax rates. So for that, my thanks, and I look forward to the future and to that day when we can cut the ribbon and make this available to Stratford students, so they will not have to go across the bridge, and they will be able to go have a school in their own community, a high school in their own community. Yeah. And over and above that, hopefully we'll get a junior high as part of the same property. So we have made provision for that as well. So with that, anything else anyone would like to say?
I'd like to congratulate Jill on her work on the committee, and I know I was there, but you led the committee. It was great. The first time I saw the sports campuses before I applied for a councillor, I'd come in the room, and it was a wow, the wow factor, and what Stratford needs and so on. And as chair of recreation, you know, our minor hockey programs, our baseball, our softball field, our kids, our adults they're all maxed out, and hopefully this is going to facilitate that area. And plus the high school. I mean, the high school from 10 to 12. I know my two children had to go across the bridge to go to high school, and now people from the area are going to go to high school, and it's going to be great for the community, and we're growing, and this is going to add to the community, and the commercial business on the other side of it. It's just a wow factor, and it's a great job.
And thanks, Steve.
And great job by Jeremy Crosby and Robert and Jeremy Piercer. I mean,
And
three
Jeannie's
of us.
not here either.
It's great
Yeah.
it's great to come together, everybody, and achieve something as a council. You know, it's a second year in the council here, but it's great to work together and get this done, and we'll move forward here.
Yeah,
Still have work to do.
Yeah, more
I
work.
should have mentioned all staff as well. Jeremy Crosby and Jeremy Pierce.
Yeah.
Kevin Reynolds all had a lot to do with this, and Wendy and Kim. So thank you for all the work that you all did on this. Okay, with that, we have the resolution on the floor, I believe. We voted on it yet? We haven't.
Did we second that resolution?
It's read in, so we're in discussion.
I second it, yeah.
Okay, you second? Okay.
Okay, that was discussion, so now we'll call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried. Okay, thank you. It is a great accomplishment for the town, and we'll look forward to the future. Item number 15, sustainability. As Chair to give his report, Darren McPherson, or Darren McDougall. Geez, I've done that again.
Yeah, that's a hard act to follow, that last resolution. We didn't meet this month, the Sustainability Committee. We just had some vacations and other things going on, and planning on meeting the 1st of October. So at this point, I don't have a report, Your Worship, and I'll be reporting back on sustainability in October.
Thank you. I know that as a part of the Mayor's report, or the Mayor's Congress last week, there was and I think it was mentioned by Councillor Smith, there was an offer by the town of Summerside to help us with any sustainability projects, especially anything to do with solar. So it's maybe something we could look into and have considered at Sustainability Committee when you're able to meet.
Yeah, most definitely.
Okay, next item, thank you for your report. Next item is my committee, Accountability and Engagement. We did not meet this past month. We're looking at the analysis of the survey and getting that reported. Hopefully by next meeting we'll be able to have a briefing for council and to get that out as well. The performance indicators, we've finished working on that in the committee, and we will be presenting that as well in the future and considering that at our next meeting. But other than that, I don't have anything to report. Any questions or comments on that? If not, we'll move to item number 17, Human Resources. No report there. Okay, any inquiries by members of council about any of the items that we've raised? If not, we'll go to other committees. Stratford Seniors Complex, Chair of Seniors Committee, Councillor Gail MacDonald.
Thank you, Your Worship. Report is in your package. We are still not meeting due to COVID, but we plan to meet in October via Zoom to discuss the complex budget. It has a calendar year end date. The Ostrich brothers have ordered some items there for capital repairs for 3 of the units. One unit was going to be painted in October, and we'll soon start to reach out for getting some pricing on snow removal for the complex. And that's about it. Everything's good there.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Okay, no appointments to committees, no proclamations. Any other business any councillor would like to raise at this time?
I have one point brought up. Is it the PEI Federation of Municipalities that looking for people to vote for national? Is it national or PEI level that we're looking here for voting? It's national vote? And I also noticed that is there a position open this year for, it's national, not provincial though, right? You're our representative provincially?
Yes.
But are they looking for a nomination for national board? So the assistant member, Councillor Twill, is stepping down, or?
His time is up.
His time is up, okay. Good, thank you.
Okay, any other business? If not, I'll call for a motion for adjournment. We're now adjourned. Thank you very much, everyone.